was definitely a fire game to be starting off our day, at least if you are a Wildcard fan, because they came out of the gate swinging. I'm not going to lie, you two.
Yeah. Great read coming out from Wildcard early on in the game in order to shut down anything that Team Liquid is going to go for, right? You even saw Wildcard almost universally backing until they saw Team Liquid come out of the bush, and it didn't win them the game, but it gave them a big advantage with which to start playing the bottom side.
Yeah. After a performance like that coming out from this team, I feel like we got to give some awards out for this segment. What do you guys think about that?
I'm down. It's the final week of the split. You know, we can start. Is this an award for the entire split or just from the game though?
Up to you. The way that the awards are listed is
Cat.
a majority of the award. Oh, we got a cat.
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 He's
Do we have a best cat award? And can we give it to your cat?
That might be the one that's calmly chilling in the tree that you can't see because he's a black cat, as opposed to the one that looks like he's about to go mess something up. But all right.
Devious look.
So for the awards, you can give them out whether it's the game or whether it's the split. It might be a little bit better for split, and you can give them out to players on either team, even if Wildcard deserves the award for that game one performance. We'll put it forward to all players. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So the very first award that we have is the Most Improved Award.
Ooh.
It's only over this split that we're taking into account, right?
Probably most
Okay,
likely.
yeah. That does make sense.
I think over the split, yeah.
All right. I'm going to give the Most Improved Award to Ian APA Stearns in the mid lane for Team Liquid. I definitely feel as though somebody who was mostly playing in amateur and had some bright moments on teams like Barrage and Resolve previously, we were really kind of looking at kind of a limited champion pool, only really playing a lot of control mages. But I feel coming into this year, when Spawn basically told him, you're going to play my champs, we've definitely seen a lot of growth from APA in his ability to do a lot of different things, and even solo carrying some of the games all by himself. He still has opportunities where he flubs quite a bit, but those have become fewer and farther between.
It's all part of growth, right? So
It's all about growth.
Improvement, yeah.
Improvement.
the improvement. Kangas,
I'd give shout out to Moose Hater as well. I think that Moose Hater at the beginning of he's been good the whole split, but I do feel that the beginning of the split, Moose Hater was doing a better job of just like playing Garen, and people didn't know how to play against Garen, or playing Alawi, you know, champions that are niche and not many people understand the laning mechanics against, or how to play against them late game. Then they started to get found out, but if he has games like this last one, I think that those types of flanks from Moose Hater, I see as the culmination of a whole split of practicing flanks like that and improving at them. So I think that you're right, Josh, but I want to give a shout out to Moose Hater, who I think I have seen growth over the split, though.
I love that. All right. Second award, the Most Influential Award.
Moose Hater. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
That was an easy one. That's a super easy one.
I'm not, so since he didn't get the first one, it checks out. I feel like there's not even words that need to be said for that one, because when someone's able to pilot something like this Garen, that gets talked about in LCS, LEC, and then it's like the comparison of, oh, these other people are picking up Garen, and everything gets brought back to Moose Hater. It's like, how could you not, right?
It turned from like a pocket pick to a legitimate counter to Cassante, which there were not many counters to the Cassante pick, and I think that Garen showed what you can do in lane against Cassante, and also how you can mark him later in team fights. And yeah, I mean, like, Cassante just sacrifices half his health bar to ult in. Well, Garen's like, well, sweet, I have a percentage execute on my ultimate. I'd love it if you had less health bar. This is perfect for me.
Perfect. And I think the other thing is, if you ask LEC players anything about the Challengers League, the number one thing that they're going to say is, oh, that's the league that Moose Hater plays in. So I think that's going to be one of the big things that kind of goes in his favor. He has definitely become much more influential, much more famous because of his play on this Garen, and I feel like everybody knows who this is.
All right, our next award, the Laser Focus Award. So someone who sometimes during that game, oh, you already know, just a little one-tracked mind, they got their eye on the prize, whether it's for good or for bad.
I think, Josh, I think you're going to agree with me with this. I'm going to give it to Saligo. I think Saligo is so focused in these games. We talked about it in cast, always marking the flankers, controlling where the enemy is able to approach the fight. And I think champs like Annie, Orianna is another one that's perfect for him in that regard, because you have these long-range spells. Orianna's maybe a little more kind of like obvious because you see where the ball is, but the Annie's similar, right? Like you have this big Tibber stun. If anybody walks too close, we saw Saligo go for many flash engages in that last game. Always looking for the carries, always looking for the game-winning play for the fight.
Yeah, I mean, that one makes sense to me. I don't know how much more I can add to it, honestly.
Let's go.
Love that. We're in agreement on this cast. This is a good day. Sometimes all of this turns to chaos and, you know, fire everywhere. All right, our next award, the Legacy Award. Who's gonna have their name talked about in NACL even when they're long gone, is someone who's really just painted some sort of legacy here in any sort of way, whatever way you guys want to be interpreting this one.
Is it cheating to say Moose Hater again? Because, like, every time a Garen is ever picked for the rest of history, people will be like, Moose Hater, right? I feel like that is something that is a little bit hard to shake. I'm trying to think of any other candidates we have for that.
I'll give another candidate. I think Moose Hater is the clear front runner, but because he already won an award, and this is very biased as an award show, and you can't win two, I'm going to put forward Bradley. I think if you went back-to-back Proving Grounds and then also have an entire roster flip around you, depending on how the rest of the split goes, I guess, maybe this would be a bigger argument if they finish high or even like make it to another finals. That would be a legacy for a player to be like, look, I won twice, my entire team changed, and then I still made like a deep run or even got to the finals again. That would be big for Bradley.
Bradley was my vote for that one too. So
yeah.
I definitely agree with all of that. Even though Moose Hater is definitely a good shout for, you know, all of the mentioned obvious reasons about all of that.
Yep.
So, all right, the next one, the Jack of All Trades Award. Someone who can pilot a bunch of different champions super, super well and be able to just, you know, just do whatever their team needs to be, always being able to stand up to whatever.
I see two front runners for this one, Joshi, but I'll let you go first. I'll fill in the other one if I don't agree.
My initial front runner for this one is actually Mir. Is the first person that kind of comes to mind. Because most of the other players in the league have had very defined kinds of champions that they play. You look at Moose Hater, you look at Heal, you look at Duo King, they all have they have a handful of champions that are very disparate, right? You have like the Zyra and the Sona and the Alistar, but that's partly because we don't see Duo King play like a lot of the other more meta champions. That's not a knock against him, that's just saying he doesn't. Whereas on the other hand, Mir, this was not his meta. Everybody knew Mir as somebody that played a ton of bruisers. We knew them as a Lee Sin player. We knew them as a Xin Zhao player. They come here into this league and they play tanks. It's something we have never seen them really do before, and they look good doing it. I actually think that Mir, if you just have him first time a champion, is more likely to have success on that than anybody else in the league.
Okay, I did not have Mir actually on my list, but I do like your argument. That does make sense when you phrase it that way. I was actually going to put Arrow. I think that Arrow, I mean, he's got the early game picks. He plays the Draven. Not many people play that in this league. Will play things like Caitlyn. Just play Jinx in this last game. Like, no matter what the meta is, I feel like Arrow has champions in that pool and is able to pilot them. So that was my shout out.
I like it. Our second to last award here, as we're wrapping up our award show, is the Ultimate Award, in quotes, for who has consistently the best ultimates that they're bringing to a fight. You know, these are the most impactful. They don't miss. You know, sometimes someone's ultimate's a little bit of a flub, sometimes not that great, but...
I have an answer if you have one as well, Steve. I need time to think.
I'm trying to, like, see how I can interpret this in a funny way that, like, you know, makes better content.
Makes better content.
Better content, yeah. Okay, I got mine.
Okay, you go first.
Saligo. I think Saligo wins
mine.
this one.
All right, we're in agreement.
Sweet. I mean, throughout the entire explanation I gave before of like controlling fights through holding abilities and also zoning with like things, Orianna ultimate, Annie ultimate. Those are the two ultimates that came to mind. I was like, I've seen Saligo hit some pretty big ults that just win fights straight up.
Yeah, it might not always just be this one single game, but we oftentimes see, as you've already called out, Saligo has had some pretty nutty shockwaves so far this season, and just his ability to control huge swaths of the battlefield, I think really comes down to how well he uses his ultimates. And I feel like Saligo has been kind of underrated by a lot of the community because a lot of the things he does are not flashy, they're just good.
Just good. I love that. Makes a lot of sense. And our last, final award, I know we always do this later on. We're going to get a little bit of jump start on it. Most valuable prospect award as of this moment between these two teams.
Ooh, well, one of these players is on our current most valuable prospect frontrunners list. So it's a regular season award. We wait till the end of the season to actually give our official votes. But we did make a graphic we'll be showing later on in the weekend of our frontrunners, because we had a conversation of like, what are the names that are coming to mind when we start thinking about most valuable prospect? And Mir has actually been brought up a couple of times. So I think it would have to be Mir when we just look at these teams. I know that it's rough because it's a player from the team that just lost, but considering that's a conversation that we've already had, I think that that's the obvious answer.
Yeah, I think the important thing to kind of think about is what the most valuable prospect award means, right?
Yes.
Because the way it works is we will take, if they were promoted into LCS today, over the next calendar year, we take all their wins, we give them 1 point. In the calendar year following that, we take all their wins and we weight those with 2 points. And with that, Mir gets a lot of points right away if you put him in LCS tomorrow. However, I think one of the players that still has a lot of opportunity still is I still think Bradley has a lot of room left to grow. And while he might not be the current front runner, I definitely think he should be in the conversation.
I love this. I love this. And we'll leave this as a point of conversation since it is something we'll give away later. But just a little food for thought, just starting to throw that out there for everyone. But I think that we have a game ready and around the corner for us.
We do.
Time to see if Wildcard are going to make quick work of Team Liquid yet again in the second game, or if Team Liquid is going to catch on to their tricks, adapt, and overcome. Time for the draft. I'll see you two later.
Thank you, Zara. Take care.
I got an interesting thing for you, Steve, real quick, going into it, right? Because we had a bit of a meeting where we didn't nominate, but we kind of got a temperature check of where everybody was. And so I think it's funny comparing how Kabi and my opinions have kind of changed on the Most Valuable Prospect Award. Because in 2022, I was very focused on how would they play if they were in LCS tomorrow, right? And that was part of why I was such a big defender of Dokla and then Ayla, because they were some of the best players in the league. And now I feel like I'm overcorrecting. I feel like I'm looking at, in 2 years, who's going to be the best player, whereas Kabi is thinking so much more, and that's why Mir has been one of the front runners, because they have been maybe the best player in the league. Outside of Unforgiven, who is so good, we kind we don't want to give the award to him.
Of course. We'll have more conversations about what prospect means and who's eligible for awards going forward. But I think it's just cool that also a little flex for us. All of our MVP winners are now in LCS. Even Ayla, who was tied in the MVP vote, and then
tiebreaker
won the tiebreaker. He's in there too, so it's cool. Now, let's catch up on Game 2. Wildcard, let's reframing Wildcard, a win here. They are already ahead of Team Liquid in the standings now. If they tie, they're still head-to-head. But you want to push yourself further so that way you can get a better round 1 playoff opponent based on the current bracket shakeup. Thank you, Joshi, for moving your hands with me. We got to get dynamic here.
We got to get dynamic here for sure. And we do see the new ban coming through. That is the only change in bans from the first part of the draft so far. I don't remember what it was last time.
It was Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank, yeah. And so we do see the Caitlyn come through for Lens once again. Did a pretty decent job. Didn't have to do anything fancy last game. Just stood and delivered for a ton of it. And it's a Fiora coming through for Bradley, as well as the Varus for Arrow. And this was something that Sierra and I were looking at Moose Hater's Twitch stream a little bit earlier, where it said that he has a couple of mains as Camille and Fiora. And it was actually a champion that we knew Moose Hater growing up as, like, when he started coming in and when he started beating up on Tenacity, and I think Proving Ground Spring 2022, he was playing the Fiora 2 victories, and now he's going to be playing the other side. But this is a tough matchup for the Camille.
Yeah, I mean, Moose Hater clearly feeling comfortable in it regardless. Bradley is a solid Fiora pilot, so when it's the carry versus carry, this is kind of what I was hoping between these two champions. I know that Bradley opted for the Gragas last time. It fit the draft, what they were going for there. But I'm happy we get the carry versus carry matchup, because Bradley has been, critical of himself in the past of, hey, I won 2 PGs, but I want to prove that I am contributing as a primary character in those wins and not a passenger. And I think that champs like this allow Bradley to do that.
Yeah, we will see what they can actually do, because it definitely felt in spring a little bit more of that passenger. In summer, definitely contributed quite a bit more. But APA going right on back to that Aurelion Soul. We were very hyped about it in draft, Steve, but as now we are actually getting into the game, it was fine, right? We saw him go for a couple of good ganks, but never really had the chance to scale into the game. And so as we move to the second half of the draft, another Blitzcrank ban being layered at Duo King.
That makes sense. The thing is, it's the Aurelion Sol against the Annie again, so it's the same mid lane matchup. Last time, the winner, or what influenced it the most in lane was the fact that Mir got the gank off and got a kill.
Yeah.
We saw as the game went on, Saligo was more impactful than APA on the Aurelion Sol. I think that if the game goes another 10 minutes, Aurelion Sol just gets more and more value. But the pace that game 1 was played at, the Annie brought more to the table. And with the Caitlyn locked in, it kind of makes sense if Wildcard want to push the pace in this game too.
And so as we see very similar bans come through, the Zyra is taken off the table once again. We will have to see what it is that Duo King and Keel want to actually be bringing to the table, right? Keel has been one of our more inventive junglers and was actually kind of the original Zac pilot before Moosehater actually brought it out. And it could give them a lot of opportunities to really go for some of these big engages. And they do have some dive buddies, right? Saligo's going to be flashing forward, Moosehater's going to be jumping on in, and Varus is not particularly mobile, so I definitely feel like that could be something on the table, whereas Tender Loving Hair, on the other side, it definitely feels a little bit closer to our previous composition, where it's not quite front to back, they have a little bit more just front lane power, but it is something where they're still going to be able to stand to deliver a lot better than Wildcard in these situations.
I will say, it's rough for Wukong to be primary engage, and the amount of burst I'm seeing on Wildcard. If you go in and Annie lands a stun, ooh, and if the Lux is locked in too, there's so much just burst damage from decent range you got to worry about. And as primary engage Wukong, that, like I said, very scary. Kim Down, I want you now on something that can also start a fight off, because if you're only relying on Mir to do these, that Wukong will get blown up.
Yeah, it is worth noting that we have had 3 bans leveled at Kim Down so far. The Nautilus, the Ashe, and the Thresh. He was actually a kind of a Thresh one-trick back before he actually joined TLC, and now to start looking at what he can actually play. I like this pick coming out from Keel as well. That's a lot of engage. That's a lot of alpha strike coming out from Wildcard. They will blow up a single target very quickly. And TLC, they need to figure out who they're going to be willing to sacrifice. It's probably going to be whatever Kim Down picks here.
I love it because it can gank any lane early on. You look at Annie, that can set up a J4. Caitlyn Lux can set up a J4. Also, these can follow up if the J4 is the one going in first. So every lane is going to be in danger from TLC. This is something that I think works a little better now. They have another champion that can engage and can go in. Still squishy. So if you get hit by the Annie stun on your way in, you might still just get blown up, but at least it gives them options. It's not just Mir starting the fights.
Yeah, I mean, we look at Team Liquid, and they do have, like, what I call a bunch of secondary engage, right? They are champions that can engage, but really like it when somebody else engages for them. That's the Wukong, that's the Varus, that's the Rakan. All of these things can get fight started, whereas Wildcard, they have a bunch of characters that's like, oh, I hit a skill shot, and you're dead, right? Like, that's going to be one of the big things you have to be very worried about if you are on TLC, and APA can get out of the Cataclysm. Arrow cannot, unless he has the flash up. So it is something where you can be very proactive in trying to trade that ultimate for summoner spells from Team Liquid, and I like what Wildcard have drafted here. I feel like they're still a little bit favored going into this game.
This is going to be a rough game for Varus to play at. I imagine it'll be poke Varus. I don't think you're going to try and get many autos off against these champions that you're up against, so maybe that'll help them out. But let's see what they bring to the table as game 2 is on for Wildcard versus Team Liquid. I hope there's an award for best player on Wi-Fi. I think Masu's the only one that would even qualify for that one.
Yeah, I don't even know who else has been playing on Wi-Fi, but man,
I don't know if anybody in the history of like Challengers League Academy ever has.
I'm sure there has to be. But Arrow, got the Mana Flow Band stack. But yeah, Masu, another player that we are looking at potentially for most valuable prospect, but we will talk about more of that later on this week. Team Liquid not going to be making the same mistake, but there's not the same kind of read coming out from Wildcard either. So Team Liquid Challengers not going to put themselves in a hole to start. And with all of the early game play that they tend to go for, I do like this Wukong coming out for Mir. I do think it gives them a little bit more control over when fights start than the Lee Sin.
It is definitely more impactful in the big fight, or at least maybe easier to be impactful. Lee Sin can do some crazy things, but less likely for that to happen. So Mir on the Wukong this time around, starting on the top side. So is Keel. Both will be pathing bot. I'm expecting many ganks from Keel on this champion based on the amount of setup he has and the upside of pulling off ganks. So expect Mir to be trying to track him as much as he can.
Yeah. decent damage coming through from both bottom lanes right off the bat, but there is going to be a sustained advantage coming out for Team Liquid if they don't get poked out too hard when you do have that Gleaming Quill. But of course, still very tough. You are playing effectively one melee champion into 2 range, and we will see how well Kimdown actually survives some of this early game. And so I'm kind of curious on a temperature check on what you are kind of expecting from these teams going in towards playoffs, Steve, because as you were calling out before, they are still both, I mean, they're 1 game apart after our last game, but I feel like both these teams are in the conversation to do quite well as we start looking towards the postseason.
It's so funny to see their trajectories throughout the split because they're almost turning into dark horses for, like, you know, title runs at this point. Despite how strong Wildcard started, how much hype Team Liquid had. But temperature check that I have in terms of expectations going forward, I think Wildcard actually still have more in the tank. I think that one of their coolest things that they bring to the table is unique picks, and I want them to lean more back into that. As currently, you're on a very standard pick. Wukong can do this, get over the Dragon Pit wall, and get behind Duo King and Lens. Kimdown goes for the engage. Lens positioning very well so far. Has flash available, but he's looking forward on the Kimdown. Will trade his life for Kimdown's life as well.
Damn, I mean, that's a really good play coming out from Lens in order to trade that one back. Not likely to get out. And Wildcard do have Kill coming down, and so that is honestly one of the things that Wildcard oftentimes do to find some of these early leads is they play through Lens, they play through Duo King, one of our more dominant, one of our scarier lanes down here in the bottom side of the map. And so far, I mean, just trading that out after a very inventive game coming up from Mir is going to be something that keeps Lens in the game.
Let's get another look at it here. There's a little pocket where there's no vision, and they only have the ward in the river, not on their own tri-bush. I think they felt safe, because Keel's on their side of the map right now, but Mir just finds a nice avenue.
Yeah, I mean, good dodge as well from Lens. Kimdown was kind of expecting him to go a little bit farther, but getting the extra headshot range with the 90 caliber net does, in fact, find the kill. But in the mid lane, we also saw a gank come through. AKA forced a flash. Keel doing something very similar in Game 2 as to Game 1.
He walks up by the wolf pit and actually goes between turrets to get flash out of APA, and it's not even slowing him down, and it's clear. He's just right back to this top scuttle, and the Gromp is spawning soon. So ahead and clear over Mir, flash away from APA mid lane, who is struggling heavily right now, down about 2 waves of CS to Saligo.
Yeah, we will see how well APA can kind of bounce back. We did just say he might be the most improved player on the Rift in this game, but that doesn't mean that you just automatically get to play up against somebody who has had all this LCS experience and does continue to showcase how much strength they still have. And so, as we continue to look at this game, is much more even coming out for Team Liquid, and we do give them a lot of tools with scaling in this game. The one thing that we will have to come back to as we establish in draft, Steve, is the fact that Team Liquid don't have the biggest engage tools, and I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to the vision control coming out of this game, which Duo King has been doing a better job of than Kimdown throughout most of the season.
And also, Luck's just good at checking those brushes anyway. You can always throw out your abilities if you don't have vision control currently to then go get the vision control. He's going to try and track Mir as he approaches over that wall now. I like that ward. Duo King learning in the game, saying, all right, well, he got onto us last time because I did not ward this. Also, correction, APA, you're not 2 waves down at the time, only 1. Currently can catch this one. Let's see if Saligo does anything with this timer, because if Annie can get out of this lane, maybe look for a dive, because Keel's down bot side. They could try and overload here.
Possible, but not the easiest thing in the world for them to go for, and Mir is already down here. And, I mean, Team Liquid, one of the things that they are quite well equipped with is there is quite a bit of wave clear. They also spot out Keel on a ward, and so Mir, one of the players that I've been so impressed at, particularly this year, in their ability to not use abilities, right? The patience Mir has to make sure that they are hitting the right targets has been one of the best that we've had so far in the Challengers League, and now Team Liquid, having gotten pushed in, do look to actually be trying to contest this dragon.
They're setting up for it as Bradley's winning the 1v1 against Moose Hater. Might go for a bag, has teleport. Team Liquid are approaching in. Big stun from Duo King. Lot of damage! And Mir, like I said, just blown up at the start of the fight. They do trade onto Lens. Kimdown still alive. Wait, is Kimdown making it out of here? No way! Duo King's trying to chase him down. Arrow's very far back, and APA was all alone. So Wildcard do clean up a couple kills and will get the dragon.
Wildcard are just looking more coordinated than Team Liquid right now, right? They're setting up. They knew exactly how they wanted to play that, whereas Team Liquid, I mean, Mir dies before they even get to participate in this fight with a great bind coming out from Duo King. But you see, right, Mir just getting caught here, doesn't have an opportunity to really fight anybody and just dies, whereas Kim down, trying to find the kill onto Lens. They will pick it up, but your battle lines are so confused at this point, right? You don't know who is controlling what. You don't have any front line to really play around. And while, yes, APA does a decent amount of damage for the Space Dragon doesn't do a whole lot of damage yet. He's still building up that Stardust.
Doesn't have an item completed. Like, look at the items that APA is working with. No AP that you're actually pumping out with what you're currently packing. So just base stats, essentially. And Saligo even got a second rotation of stun in that fight. So Wildcard just in a better spot to take it. They get rewarded for their aggression.
Yeah. Good patience from Bradley there, not throwing out the Grand Challenge as well. I think a lot of lesser Fioras might have gone for that there, but Moose does just hook shot themselves out. But yeah, Team Liquid, and they're putting themselves in a bit of a deficit again, and we were establishing them as this really strong early game team that goes for a lot of these early plays, but it feels like Wildcard are just kind of beating them at their own game. We said that Wildcard was the one that had a much more established identity, but I feel like Wildcard are doing a fantastic job kind of upsetting that based on how well they've been playing in this game so far, this series so far. And now it's Bradley who's going to be starting this up. I don't know if he managed to do it out of vision or not.
No, the Herald did charge forward, so Keel would have seen him in the river.
They definitely know now.
And Saligo's here, but so is Kim down. Team Liquid have more members. APA says, I see Saligo all alone. Double stun, but not going to be enough to save you. Saligo is down. Keel over the wall. Does he go in? Big knockup. Kim down could be in trouble. Cataclysm in. Kim down flashes out, but Moose Hater's got the flank and will claim Kim down finally. Everything invested for the support, and Wildcard just don't have enough firepower afterwards, so Team Liquid actually find a big series of kills there.
And great firing back from Team Liquid. That was textbook how you're supposed to play up against Wildcard. You see the flankers, you jump on one of them, you kill them before anybody else can arrive. And as we take a look at this, right, Saligo's been one of these players that is so good at marking opposing flankers, but when they actually get caught, APA just has more tools to go around the side. And Wildcard, they haven't set up just quite yet. This was a major way that other teams like 100 Thieves, like FlyQuest, have actually taken games off of Wildcard so far this season. Now Team Liquid executes on it gorgeously.
And Moose Hater being quite behind based on how the laning phase had gone means that the one flanker that does make it onto the flank doesn't actually accomplish much with that. Doesn't even have a Divine Thunder picked up early on, so you're not blowing anybody up in that situation. This is big for Team Liquid. Signs of life to get back into this game that was kind of falling away from them. Ooh, nice from Bradley. Times to stun onto Moose Hater. Has a Hextech Ultimatum to block out the turret damage. Juggling it beautifully. Saligo will pick up the kill.
That's a big deny as well, but the bottom lane.
Okay, Arrow went for the damage onto Lens instead of Duo King, who does get out here.
Yeah.
Here might look for the dive.
Wildcard. Bam. Nope, no dive. Pushing them off. Will deny a wave of farm coming out from Lens and Duo King.
Ooh, they're actually going pretty far for this. Mir dodges out on the stun, and they do dive the second tier turret. Ooh, I like this from Lens, so feeling confident to walk up, has both summoner spells available. Thinks, hey, lethal tempo stacked. Can maybe trade something back, but nope, Team Liquid will just get the kill.
Yeah, I mean, good job from Team Liquid to actually go for that extended dive, but also I want to give even more praise to Wildcard for their dive up in the top side, making sure that they have all the tools necessary to juggle the aggro, get Bradley, and also deny him like 2.5 waves of farm, right? That was a big wave that was crashing all at once. And Wildcard, they're showcasing some good growth, right? We were talking about most improved. Something that Wildcard has had is they are actually one of our bottom teams when it comes to gold difference at 15. I know we're not there yet, but the fact that they're positive not just last game, but also this game as we crest the 11-minute mark against Team Liquid Challengers, who was 4th place in gold difference at 15, is a big sign of growth coming out for Wildcard, in that they are out laning and out team fighting, out skirmishing one of the teams that we've been praising for that.
They're playing their early game so much better, and Team Liquid have not been finding a lot of leads in their early game so far in this series. Mir, though, does have a pretty deep invade here. Oh, no, he didn't spot him. He doesn't know the Keel's there. Okay, now they will see them, but flash from Keel, flash out from Mir, trades from the junglers.
That flash is definitely more important for the Wukong than it is for the Jarvan, right? Jarvan is just going to yeet himself into the other side of the fight, whereas Mir kind of needs it to get a lot of these fights started. And we start to see Team Liquid unsure if they want to be contesting this dragon. Is Mir's going over to the other side of the map before the rest of the team was like, no, come here.
Keel says, oh no, Arrow missing the Chain of Corruption, but they still have enough damage onto Duo King to force the flash. Len's now walking up, feeling empowered because Keel's here. Saligo's on the flank. Team Liquid's gotta be very careful. Saligo's got a big stun here, only hits Kim down, will claim the kill.
Okay.
And the skies descend from APA. Big ultimate to slow down Wildcard and clean up Saligo. Very low health bars. Can APA do this? Trying to clean up more. Gets one, gets two. APA on the killing spree, and Duo King's trying to get underneath the turret. APA's got one more Q, and Arrow might just have it. Oh, flashes the stun. APA on a rampage.
All right, let's go. Ian Stearns, Appa, Yip, having a great fight there. I thought he was inting, I have to be honest, when I saw him go forward, but he has the damage. He understands how much HP he has, and he ends up cleaning up so much of that fight. Team Liquid, again, a little bit confused coming into it, but individual outplays come through, make the difference here. Even though, right, Mir starts us off. He's at half HP. He's not here. Arrow missing the ultimate. Wildcard, they start firing back, but the big thing is they commit so many buttons onto people that aren't named Ian Stearns, that are just here in order to take a lot of the damage. And yes, the flash comes in from Sligo, they pick up Kim down, but APA has been untouched this entire time, has so much damage to put out right now, and by chasing everybody down, finds a huge lead for himself.
You're now chasing into Moose Hater, gets stunned up, and Moose Hater's out of there. APA and Kim down, we're looking to continue the chase. They actually dropped the Herald topside and are getting more gold into Bradley, who has been not as participating in these fights around the objectives, but is also still a win condition for the team. So overall, the last couple of moments here have seen the game slightly pivot back
Look at Keel,
into Team Liquid's favor.
Good Keel.
Oh, going for a dive onto Arrow. Flash was still available.
Nice.
He never used it earlier, and he just outplays Keel under his turret.
That was good. That was really clean from Arrow. That was one of the things that we have been needing from this much more veteran AD carry. Got caught out, had to use the flash a couple times in game one, but now 305 on the lethality virus turns that play around. Easy flash comes through, and yes, Ligo gets some damage onto APA, but not going to be doing a whole lot more than that. I mean, this is a much better turnaround from Team Liquid. At 11 minutes, they were down about 1,000 gold. Now, they're up about 2. That is a massive swing already coming out from Team Liquid, and now they can also start looking towards some of these upcoming dragons and fight them in a much more even situation than I was expecting.
We have a long time before that comes into play, so my immediate thought now is, over the next couple of minutes, I expect Bradley to be one of the more impactful players for Team Liquid. If they could go for a fight if they wanted to. There's really nothing to fight over, though, other than the Herald coming up in a few moments. So as I say that is actually something pretty big to fight over. Maybe we will see that. But Bradley in the side lane, I don't see Moose Hater answering him right now.
Not yet.
So far, Bradley's been winning that.
Yeah, it's currently Lens matching Bradley on the bottom side of the map as Wildcard do start to shift around their lanes a little bit. Ooh, Mir does take away the Gromp, and now Team Liquid are here in force coming over for the second Rift Herald of the game, and Wildcard not in a position to really contest. They might throw out Duo King's ultimate in order to try and go for a steal, but other than that, it will be all Team Liquid. And as you called out, historically, Fiora has been a counter to Camille, but there was also a quote that I remember hearing in 2021 and 2022. If your only counter is Fiora, you're a pretty damn good champion, right? Camille will scale well into this game, will teamfight a lot better than Bradley's Fiora will. So Moose Hater does have angles to come in, and this plays beautifully into his playstyle thus far of looking for these heavy flanks. It's only really going to be the side lane that Moose Hater is going to have some struggles into Bradley with.
Camille's like one of the best flanking champions in the game. It's kind of crazy what she's able to do, especially when you see good Camille's that like Hextech Ultimatum, not the person that they want to lock down, but the person behind them, so that you push the person you actually want to lock down over, and it's kind of like a mini Alistair headbutt.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do correctly, and hard to think about for a lot of players in the moment. It's like, oh, I just need to kill this guy, use everything there. And you do get a little bit of a damage amp on the person that you are having the Hextech Ultimatum on. Sometimes that is the difference maker. But Team Liquid are now starting to group up. They have 2 outer turrets that they still need to topple, and they have kind of slowed down a little bit around a lot of these turret objectives, right? Team Liquid have done a good job at picking up some things, but now Bradley's trying to find a 1v2.
Yeah, I said Bradley's where Team Liquid will have a lot of action happening here, as they also have the Herald. They might just commit for this. Mirror can drop the Herald, confirm the turret. Wildcard are rotating a couple members down here. Saligo's walking up the long way through lane, and Duo King has joined in too, but they might not need the Herald. Not quite enough damage from their autos to take down the full turret, but they're close.
Getting very close. Team Liquid still have a lot of members here, and I'm not sure that Wildcard are really expecting this to come out from Team Liquid, right? You don't know that Fiora has backed. That's part of why you see Wildcard giving so much respect over to APA in that moment. But the big thing to look at is how people are going to be backing away. Will they have all of their gold spent coming up for this upcoming dragon? Who's actually going to be hitting their next item? Arrow will not complete the Muramana. It's still just a Mane Mune. And it doesn't look like Kim Down nor Duo King are likely to have their items complete before this fight either. So it should be pretty even across the board. The only person who's skyrocketed ahead so far has been APA, who's now currently on Roa and Rylai's.
That's huge, though. 4-1 and 3 on the Aurelion Soul. He's going to be slowing down everybody. Finally gets the turret on the bottom side. Still walking a little bit further up. Bold to do. I guess the team sees many members of Wildcard.
Have enough vision. Yeah. With not knowing where Moosehater is, it is still a little bold, but will be able to back away and does have to teleport, so can spend whatever gold they did just pick up. And APA felt confident in their vision coverage, and now is actually coming here to start taking control early on. Here's the engage.
Big chunk on the Duo King, and even Flash, as Mir just forces it out. He'll flag and drag to safety, but Team Liquid have pretty much asserted control over the Dragon. I don't know if Wildcard will feel confident to walk in. Bradley's on the flank here. Do they go for some kind of crazy dive? Oh, all right, Keel. Well, now you don't have the flag and drag for mobility, but it does still get out to safety. The
Bradley.
Mid, big stun onto Bradley. He's got to jump away now. And APA! Everybody forgets about the dragon until he's roaring in your face. Aurelion Soul showed up big in that fight as TL take another turret and now can run right to the dragon.
That was fantastic coming in for our Team Liquid. APA once again showing up big in that fight. Team Liquid, they get 2 turrets off of it. They get a dragon. This is much closer to the Team Liquid we were kind of expecting to come in for this fight, but so many tools here are used onto Bradley right at the outset. And when this comes in, APA lands a 4-man knock-up. The slow erupts onto everybody. And the second knockup coming in from Kim Down, picking up 3 members, everybody who hadn't already died. Great team fight coming in for Team Liquid, and it all starts with this new most improved mid laner.
That was incredible from APA. I'm really sad that anytime we show that replay, we're going to probably include the failed flash over the wall to end it. But it's all right, APA. It looked good up until that moment. As now Team Liquid have an even bigger gold lead than before, and they've stopped the dragon stacking from Wildcard, getting them further into this late game, where APA will only get stronger from this point. Look at the gold differential he's already mounted up over Saligo. The A-Soul will be a monster.
Yeah, I mean, that's what dragons do, right? What CR rating do you think he has?
I'm trying to remember now, even like what the CR ratings are, like the standard ones.
It's like, I think most dragons are in like the 12 range.
12? I thought they were like 20.
Elder dragons are. I guess it depends on what kind of dragon it is.
True.
But as we get back into it, we'll stop talking about D&D a little bit. Team Liquid starting to create a little bit more pressure across the board. They have this great scaling advantage. They have a ton of wave clear. And it's so important for them to actually find the second win in order to continue building up towards the standings. We were looking at it before. At the beginning of the day, you're going to have to go up against some tough competition if you currently are on the lower end of that. That's when you have to look at the CLGs, the Flight Quest, and now Wildcard trying to stop the
engaged on. He's going in. They didn't have any vision on Baron, so they were worried. Saligo with the flank, though! Big burst! Over the top! Duo King throws out the Lux ultimate. And now Kim Down trying to make some work happen here. They don't have a lot of damage to follow up, though. Wildcard, we highlighted it before, how squishy TL are and how much range Wildcard are working with as Moosehater jumps in, looking for more, gets chunked out a little bit. They don't have the range advantage. TL do have that over them right now. Saligo now isolated from the rest of the team. He's picked up, he's down. Moosehater's in, though, and he jumps on the Kim Down Hectank ultimatum, locking in the support as Arrow has to limp away. Team Liquid, they counterplay, then they get counterplayed. It's back and forth.
Yeah, you saw Bradley at the very end going for a riposte. He does almost the entire sequence correctly, but it is going to be Wildcard that does come out with a little bit more gold off of that. And so, as everybody teleports back on the map, we'll take another look at this fight. The big thing here is that APA gets jumped on, right? He gets hit by the Barry. He gets hit by the ultimate coming out from Duo King. All this damage adds up into a dead dragon. He's been the biggest damage carry for Team Liquid throughout this fight, and Team Liquid have to be on the run. The big thing here is this is a Team Liquid Academy moment, right? Where they're like, Saligo cut out a little bit. We'll go and actually pick that up. And this riposte coming out from Bradley, almost really good. Unfortunately, Moosehater does time their stun correctly. They find another kill, and Team Liquid get punished for their hubris.
Yeah, imagine if Bradley actually pulls that riposte off. He stunned probably all 3 members. Single-handedly turned the play, but you look at her back onto the Baron setup right now. Trying to control the vision. Duo King's got the range to work with us. Actually, Moosehater gets a solo turret bot lane. And Bradley chase him down. Where Camille says, I don't win the 1v1, so I'm just going to run away.
Run away! Swim away, swim away! They do find themselves getting out, and this is something that Moosehater has created a lot of problems for other players in this league so far, is how difficult it has been to actually pin them down in a lot of these side lanes. The number of dances, the number of chases that you see with Moosehater is kind of ridiculous, honestly. But Bradley should be able to control the side lanes. It does have 2 items. They are equivalent items, and as they continue to create pressure, they will be drawing people down here and can potentially get first teleport in about 1.5 minutes when their teleport unlocks again.
And next up is that Baron fight if they want to go for that early. Otherwise, Dragon in a minute. So let's see how the teams decide to set up. Currently, APA with 3 items completed, mind you, on the Aurelion Soul, is in the top lane. Won't have the teleport, so will probably be the kind of hint as to where Team Liquid's going to put their pressure. They'll want to get him by the Dragon if they're going to contest that.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Steve. I'm not sure if you would know this, but do you have a good intuition for how much Stardust is a lot?
I do not.
Unfortunately, I don't have that. I don't have that intuition yet. Yeah, I know with like Senna at this point in the game, you should be looking at over 100, right? Like Victor should have already gotten all their Victor bucks. Syndra is starting to look at the point where they're starting to execute people with their ultimate, but I don't have a good sense for how much Stardust you really need. As Arrow, turning around for the hail of arrows. I was actually a little bit scared that the Cataclysm would come out, and Bradley on the other side of the map, he's uncontested, finds himself 2 kills worth of gold on that turret, opens up the map a little bit more, and now is trying to fight Moosehater.
That's pretty big for Team Liquid right there. Avoiding the gank in the mid lane, also getting the turret bot lane. Bradley, these vital procs are hurting Moosehater. Oh, 3 in a row. And Moosehater's got to go back and heal.
And that's going to be a ton of damage here onto this inhibitor turret, right? Team Liquid, they have set themselves up, and now it's going to be dragon on dragon action. The other side of the map, as Saligo, once no part of that, does have the teleport if they do want to move over, but there's so much extra map control coming out for Team Liquid at this point. They find themselves the next dragon of the game, 319 Stardust. I don't know if you get... Oh yeah, 5 more Stardust coming out for actually killing the dragon. So, APA, very, very strong.
Well, we don't know exactly what the bar is, but let's start taking note. 25 minutes, had 324 stacks. So we can use that as a baseline going forward. If you're in a soul, it's 5, 3, and 7 at this point of the game with 206 CS.
I want to see the next ultimate coming out for APA, right? It is going to be a thing where the more Stardust you get, the larger and larger the radius on your ultimate does become. The more damage you get from your black hole, the higher the execute threshold comes off of that as well. And if you layer those 2 things on top of each other, it is very difficult to actually deal with. And now we're starting to see the jockeying coming around for this upcoming Baron, as it is currently the only neutral objective on the board. And there's a lot of poke coming out for Team Liquid, right? Because Wildcard have been put behind, because their vision only barely extends into the river at all, it's so much more difficult for Wildcard to proactively start looking for all of these skill shots to hunt people down.
Bradley right now still in the side lane, winning this for now. The Moosehater, a really good trade back. X-Tech ultimatum in. Can Bradley outplay this? He's taking a lot of damage from Moosehater, who postures very close to the wall. And a nice catch for Team Liquid, punishing Duo King. Flash was up. I don't know what caught him there, but Squishy Lux gets punished.
Absolutely, and Team Liquid already turning onto the Baron as well. Bradley and Moosehater both have teleports, but they're both relatively low. They're trying to get their health back up. Can they keep Keel out of the pit?
Saligo doesn't have stun yet. We'll need to stack this up. That is teleport coming in from Moosehater. Teleport answered by Bradley. Team Liquid, it's a 5v4. How do they want to approach this? Kim down pops the quickness, and they just engage on a Saligo, who is popped.
Lens.
APA 1v1's Lens in the side as Moosehater falls, and Wildcard are the ones getting dissected now. Keel still alive, could look for a Baron steal, but the rest of Team Liquid are hunting for him. Now they found him. Keel's job just got a lot harder, and he's trying to run away now. Bradley says, all right, well, you got nowhere to go, and he's taken down. Keel went for the hero play, but the Baron is secured for Team Liquid.
Great stuff coming out from Team Liquid, right? They recognize these strengths coming through from the side of Wildcard, and that is so much about their ability to set up well for these fights. But when they're missing an entire member, but they can't get the vision control, it suddenly switches over to Team Liquid, and I like this coming out from Delphi. Asol is not a normal champ. Oh my god, the way that APA has been piloting it in Game 2 has been looking so much better.
Keep feeding APA the Asol buck.
I think it's supposed to have an S there, but you know, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm most likely. I was trying to think, like, maybe it's like buck is in... Is that like a deer?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, he's...
And I think also other things. But we get to see how Dokkan gets cut. Does just get hit by the ultimate from Arrow. Good improvement on that from Game 1, and now Team Liquid, or earlier in the game, and now Team Liquid with total control. The big thing here is that Wildcard not really able to get their setups right. The way that Moosehater is coming in, I feel like if Wildcard still had Duo King alive, Moosehater doesn't come down the river. Instead, he goes around the back of the Baron pit, but they just don't have enough members to actually try and make this fight happen on their own terms. And by the time the fight actually breaks out, I mean, APA picks off one, there's a big fight in the middle, pull up everybody there, and it just feels like Team Liquid ripped apart all the setup that Wildcard was going for.
APA half health Lens with 1 Q as, Arrow's also doing a lot of poke damage. Moosehater on the flank here gets onto APA. Saligo was looking for it too, has the flash, but now everyone's just peeling back on a Moosehater instead. Keel says, hey, they're a little split right now, jump on a mirror, has to flash away from the final spark. Bradley now jumping in onto Wildcard, looking for the damage, came down over the wall, but Wildcard are back in their base. They're back to their safety. He's just gotta catch
that was
his wave.
wild. That was absolutely wild. Like, all over the place. Somehow everybody lives. But Team Liquid, they're trying to open this up. APA gets caught.
Yeah, has flash available. Goes into the stasis. Flashes to safety, back by the team. But now Keel again says, wait a minute. This is twice in a row now that they're trying to catch mid lane, rotate through our side of the map. It is traded back and forth as Moosehater will fall. The Team Liquid finally get something as they also crack an inhibitor turret.
I think they get 2 of them, right? They get both the mid lane and the top lane. Yeah, that's 2 turrets that go down. The base is open a little bit from Wildcard, and now Team Liquid, they're trying to get back on the map. The big thing here is APA will have teleport, whereas Moosehater will not. On the other side, I mean, Wildcard are still here first. We praise them so much for their setups thus far, but they don't have the crucial flank, which could be the difference maker in this upcoming fight.
Wildcard are at the Dragon already, off spawn. Starting it up, Team Liquid. They're hunting. They got more members around here in the pit right now. Saligo's looking for a big flank, though. Has flash. Arrow's got to be very careful. The cleanse is available. Chain of Corruption on the Keel. Arrow into stasis now as Saligo went for the engage. But now the Annie's popped, and Mir re-engages onto Lens. All the damage is gone. Triple kill to Bradley as Team Liquid Challengers look for the Quadra. One more kill. Moosehater. This would be Bradley's second pentakill of the split. Will Moosehater challenge him? He's running back to safety. Moosehater could deny it, or he could be chill. Are you chill, Moosehater? Bradley's chasing him down.
Give it.
One more hook shot. Moosehater could get back to the safety of the base. APA jumps in there. Moosehater is in the fountain. I don't think he's going to give it to Bradley, but it doesn't matter because it's about the win on the board. Moosehater does jump back in. Can Bradley get the final hit? Team Liquid are looking for it. Moosehater's by time, and there's no penta angle. Keel has respawned, an official penta to Bradley, and a game win to Team Liquid.
Huge comeback from Team Liquid in Game 2. And honestly, that looked a lot more like the Team Liquid we were expecting, but we can't understate how dominant Wildcard were in Game 1 of this series. I honestly thought, like, looking at this one, Wildcard were favored going into that, but it is going to be a 1-1 at the end of it. There is no decision to be made as to which team will be moving up in the standings. And real quick, Steve, before we move on, I do want to check real quick, because I know Wildcard still have to play Golden Guardians, who are in sole possession of third place. But Team Liquid Challengers, they also have no slouch of an opponent. They also have to play 100 Thieves Challengers. We'll see if either of those games will give us any movement.
And it's crazy that they're still tied after this. So, like you said, no movement yet. The final seeding will be determined by the end of day on Monday. So we'll be waiting to see that, because that is where, of course, Wildcard's game against Golden Guardians will be. That's it for the first series of the day, the 1-1 split. We're going to send it to a short break before we are back with Sierra interviewing a player from the winning team after this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Verizon post-match interview. Thank you, Bradley, so much for sitting down and talking with me after that match. First off, how are you doing?
Honestly, like, all things considered, it's nice that we got the win, but we're doing okay. Honestly, like, I think we had a pretty rough week, I would say. You know, we got the 2-0 versus EG, but then 1-1 and then 0-2, and then going into this and then losing the first game. Things definitely haven't been going the best, but I think we're at the point now where, you know, it's either make or break, and I think, you know, getting the bounce back was definitely the first step.
I'm glad at least that you were able to secure that second game, but I have to ask then, what were yours and the team's expectation heading into this matchup against Wildcard?
I mean, I think as far as expectations goes, I think everyone kind of maybe expects a 2-0. As far as us, for ourselves, I don't think we went in necessarily think that we were going to smash. We just went in trying to play good League of Legends. And, you know, props to them. They played pretty well game one, but yeah, we bounced back game two for sure.
At game one especially, started on a really chaotic note as it went really downhill right off of the gate for you all. Talk to me about like your side of how that went down.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of waiting for an invade to happen, and then I don't know who on their team it must have been, but someone, Albert Einstein is their coach maybe, told them to 5-stack in that bush. I don't know. I don't think we've ever done that before, but I mean, honestly, props to them. So it worked, so good for them. It was a pretty shaky start, yeah.
So then after that first game where Wildcard did have a really strong game, then what's the conversation and the adaptations looking like heading into that game two to make sure that you can shake off that loss and keep moving on?
I think after that, a large majority of it, I think, was my coach. I think he helped us get a clear adaptation background from game one. You know, a little tweaks from draft that I definitely think that really helped. So definitely, I would like to give credit to my coach for that bounce back as far as like the adaptation goes.
And then with that bounce back now, at least in the second game, how are you feeling about tomorrow's match? Because you're going up against 100 Thieves.
To be honest, I mean, like I said, things haven't been going super great, right? But I also said this was the start of the bounce back. So I do think that we're going to perform pretty well, and you know, we'll see how it goes on the match day.
Well then, considering this is the beginning of the bounce back, of course, the more important thing is the playoffs that are going to be happening so shortly. So how are you feeling with playoffs looming in the future?
Honestly, I think over time, we're scaling. We're like Aurelia and Soul right now. We're kind of scaling. We just got to get through the early game, and then we're gonna Omega ASOL ult into the playoffs. That's my analogy here.
I love that. I love that. And last but not least, of course, Team Liquid, with yourself involved as well, this is a team that's definitely found success in the past, and as an org, do you feel like there's any sort of pressure, expectations that might be a little bit difficult to be dealing with stress-wise moving on forward when there is, you know, a difficult week 6 that you had, or when you do take a loss?
As far as pressure goes, I feel like you're always going to have some sort of pressure. You know, no one wants to get O2'd, no one wants to have like a rough week per se. But I do think as far as like past performances, like with Team Liquid, for example, I think that only is really on my shoulders. I think, you know, since I'm the only one that carries over from the last year's roster, only that sort of pressure kind of falls on me to kind of step up a little bit for the team. But for the rest, I mean, we have 2 new rookies, which, by the way, they've been playing pretty well today. Like, especially like Kim and APA, I want to give credit for, because, you know, they are 2 rookies and they are playing well. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there should be too much pressure on us, to be honest, as long as we keep in mind, like I kind of said earlier, how we're scaling, and, you know, we have the nice leadership of me and Arrow here to help us as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, APA was definitely smurfing on that Aurelion Soul, so that was a lot of fun to see. Before I let you go, any final words from your Bradley?
Oh, well. Do we see it?
Says it all. Says it all.
Perfect. Good. Love Honda. With that out of the way, I want to thank my family as well. They have been supporting me, honestly, watching all of my games. You know, my mom, my sisters, brother, dad, like, they watch a lot of my games, so I want to give a shout out to them. Shout out to my team. We're, as my coach would say, we're like, he uses like an analogy. It's like storming something performing. We're in the middle of it right now, but we're about to get to the performing. Honestly, forget the analogy. We're about to get to the performing part. So shout out to the boys on my team. You know, I think we're gonna pull through, and you know, shout out the other sponsors as well. You know, Monster, the can we see it? We can see a little bit of it. We can see a little bit of it right here, like the lab. You know, thanks to them, and yeah, that's about it for me.
Love that. And yeah, you don't need the rest of the analogy when you have the performing part right ahead of you. So
that's true.
We're looking forward to seeing it. Bradley, thank you so much for talking with me. Have a great rest of your day, okay?
Thank you very much. You as well. Bye, guys.
Bye. As for us, we're going to be taking it to a quick break before getting started with our next series of the day. So don't go too far.